G'day folks, Mark here. Just an update, I suppose, on where we're at in Western Australia with gun regulations and elections and shooting groups, that sort of stuff. I suppose where I left you last week in the way of people talking to or emailing Louise Kingston, who is part of putting together an organisation to try and cover all gun people and the ones that have been a little disenfranchised, but try and be for everybody, creating a large group of people, and listen, maybe even growing into more than just shooters, that sort of stuff, but as big as it can, turn it into that. That is in process. I haven't got the finer details for you just yet. I think there's a meeting that happened last night. When I get to talk to them, find out when they can put things forward, but they're doing it very, very thoroughly, setting up proper constitutions, setting up bylaws, setting up bits and pieces, so there's a real structure that we can all get behind and become, my hope is that turns into a very large body, hundreds of thousands of people, encourages everyone to join as to get a large voice, have a seat at the table in pushing things to where they should go, but in all sorts of things in the future, whether that's pro advertising, whether that's legal action, whether that's whether that turns into a political movement. But a big thing, hopefully I have more news on that. The other thing that's happened this week was a concession. I don't know, there was movement from the government in the fashion of they announced a buyback. Yes, of course, you can't buy back what you didn't sell to start off with, and my thoughts is listen, it's great, all the people who are involved in writing in letters and complaining about the new legislation, that sort of stuff, then great. That's all the people who donated to Kate and getting a letter written for a very high level letter written from a top level lawyer to the police minister, all the people who donated and what Kate did, all great, all good work, everyone on that sort of score. I think it's only a very small thing if it's not much more than just a political strategy or legal strategy even. I haven't seen any of the details on it yet, but if even having to do it at all is in the wrong place. But particularly if it happened as the same as the last thing, when they were going to give you $600 back for a $3,000 firearm, and at no stage have they ever talked about accessories and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's a token gesture to say we did something, and then they've flavoured it to the public as to where's all this, what's going to be tens of millions of dollars going, is that it's just getting more guns off the street, the same old line. My real thoughts on that is, listen, great work, and I would say keep going with the letters. My focus is, or my process would be to, whether it's the Premier or it's the police minister or it's any of them, to say not happy with this process. The main thing, my belief is a little bit like the semantics, putting in details, it doesn't hurt as to what you're particularly upset about and all the complicated side of it. My overview of it is, amongst all that, even if you're putting in specific details which are good, it gives them things to have to cover, have to try and work out, because the laws don't make any sense. They're a giant mess designed to be hurdles too high to pass so that people give up guns, is what they're really up to with the legislation. But the real thing, I think, that is the massive thing that needs to be pointed out, it was not done in a democratic process. It was done with only one invested party at the table, the police. That's who did it. That's who put it together. They threw out every other suggestion and put in what they wanted, which is a disaster area. That's obviously, there's so many parties that have not, and so many sides to this topic that have not been brought forward, and hence they have a mess that isn't going to operate, and it's going to be a tangle, and it's going to be a very expensive tangle. So that's, I think, the most important thing to put forward. As for the thoughts of the police minister made this decision or the Premier made this decision, my honest thoughts is it's well above their pay grade, actually. I think there's bigger players that we don't get to see behind the scenes, and those are the ones that are actually made this tactical move. And I think it's important that the message gets through to them that this is far more they've gone too far. And we go through the process of, hopefully, in all the different angles. There isn't one angle going to fix this, People want to say the political angle is going to fix it. No, it's not. The people want to say that just the shooters by themselves can fix it. No, it's not. We need to engage so many more things. We need to have a large group of people. We need to be financial. We need to be political. We need to be some form or other push into the propaganda mechanisms. All the things that they've used, and that's advertising, all the same things they've used, we need to use back. But we also need to get the message across as to how severe things are going to be with the mistakes they've made. And a couple of things that we all know. I'm speaking to the choir, I get it, but this is information that maybe you can pass on, or maybe some people aren't just the choir and will listen. There's a couple of things, out of probably 1,000 things, a couple of things that stick out to me really loudly. One is the complete dismissal of the social aspect of firearms, how positive it is. You know, we have a large demographic, as everyone keeps saying, and we do. We have from the young to the old, to the able to disabled, to the black, white, brindle, to the doesn't matter where you come from. We have a large group of a large demographic. But largely, our biggest demographic inside us is male. There's more and more young people that are coming on now, young, but it was in the probably middle age to older age. There's a lot of men that did this as with collectors, or they did some of the more, all sides of the sport, but largely some of the metal silhouette and things which are a little simple, a little more old-fashioned, but little, not high output physically, but high output in what they get out of it, in the social aspect, in the firearms they've collected, in the custom loading for it, in the effort it takes, and the skill, all that sort of stuff. A really, really big important thing. And for some of these people, they've worked their whole lives to get to where they can do this sort of stuff and enjoy this and enjoy what they've created, their little collection, their bits and pieces. Statistically and actually safer than almost any other thing that actually happens. We don't have any fights or fist fights or problems or accidents or bits and pieces at gun ranges or at all. These people are very responsible, done the right thing, and our government is just going to yank that rug out from underneath them. I suppose they're male, so we don't have much weight in our modern, particularly our Labor government. We're the bad guys. But even though we may have been the backbone that actually built a lot of the desks they're sitting behind and the buildings they're standing in and where these decisions are coming from, there is listen, I won't get too much more sarcastic about that, because of course these people are very valued people to their families, to Australia, and should not have such a thing done to them. As for the weight that has, well, I don't know. But there is something that I would say there's a fair bit of weight to, which they certainly haven't thought through. We have a proud, natural part of Western Australia. Well, Australia too, but let's talk about Western Australia. And our wildlife is something that we're all very proud of, and we all would like to think, as much as we don't get to see it because it hides in the bush and that sort of stuff, that it is still there and it's part of what even the people sitting in the middle of the city making these decisions I'm sure have some pride in our little bilbies or our little numbats or the splendid wren or the wonderful little creatures that live in particularly our southwest. But all over our state, in all sorts of places, there's all our wonderful wildlife. Well, the people that the police are mostly picking on, they mostly want to take the firearms from in every fashion they can, are their recreational hunters. Yeah, so our recreational hunters are the protectors of those little animals to the largest degree. You remove our recreational hunting and you remove the firearms to do that, where you're also removing your little bilby, your numbat, your splendid wren, your willy wagtail, and I could carry on. There is a list of 1,000 that most people would only know a few, but they're all going to be removed. Why, you say? What are you talking about? You're being sarcastic. No, I'm not. Particularly, there's all sorts of feral animals that we have issues over here. We have wild pigs that wreck the bush around the place. We have basically from, everyone knows about the camels in the desert, that side of things. We have goats, we have there's the larger stuff, but the particular two that I think most people think are cute, wonderful animals are cats and foxes. Now, feral cats are not your wonderful little cute animal, but even your little cute animal that you have in your house is a very, very effective eater of those birds and those little animals I'm talking about. There is literally thousands of them that roam out there, and they don't stay that cute little animal, they turn into a nasty big predator. Foxes, okay, they look cute in little pictures and that sort of stuff, and you should leave the little foxes alone. They are extraordinary good hunters. I wouldn't put them at the level of cats, but they're well above anything Australia's ever had to offer. So these animals are extraordinarily good at killing those other animals, and they will kill them all. I haven't seen the numbers, and I don't know if you could effectively get numbers of what recreational hunters do. I, like most people in the shooting industry or in the shooting groups and environment, I know probably 50 people that would take between 5 and 50 of those animals every year. And I know 3% of the community. There's most of those people would tend to do that with a mate or with a couple of mates. They go and do this sort of stuff. And they go into where they're needed. So they go into our public property where there's forests and things like that, where you were allowed to shoot, and they go and get these animals. Well, our government's stopping all that. It also, most of those firearms were bought on property letters there isn't a way to get this. You can't go and get a firearm for this very good need, for this very good cause. A system is a mess, is what I'd say. I'm not going to get too much more into the details, but most of that will stop. I would suspect when I see the numbers of what organisations have got, in the hundreds of thousands of our wildlife is taken by the pest at the moment, even though we're shooting, recreational hunters are shooting tens of thousands of these every year. So it's a problem that the government is nowhere near on top of, not thinking about to any great level, and the decision made by our legislation enforcers is going to remove that. But of course they're not there to protect your bilby or your numbat. No, they're keeping the guns off the streets to keep you safe. Well, your safety comes at the price of those little animals. I would think that's probably worthwhile sharing. That's a pretty big thing that is a part of the brew. It is only one of literally 1,000, and that probably doesn't cover it, things that are involved with what's happening here. It's really, I stress, really important to work out a way to push back. Firearms are only one little bit. We're just a really good example of how overzealous a bureaucrat, given no regulation, can become. Well, given them making the regulations, can become. But people in our four-wheel drives, people in our nature walkers, people in our fisheries, people just the casual fishermen, people all over the place, including our golf courses, are starting to feel this pressure. It's time we got together. It's time we stood up. It's time we told them, actually, public servant, do as you're told, and stop telling us. So that's where we're at the moment. That group, hopefully I have more information to get involved with. I don't know the rest of its agenda in the way of, I don't know the whole strategy, where they're going to, if they're going to focus on firearms mainly first, which we have to some degree or another, or they're going to build a bigger body than that. I do know it's about all Australia. This is all over Australia this is happening. And I do know one of our main key, the political aspect, actually our best thing is to become a large group, a large official group. That's a really strong thing. Also, it needs to come with, which I know their plan is to come with full transparency, so everyone knows what's going on. There's no more of these organisations that are telling us, oh no, we're all surprised by this, or we're having meetings and we don't like this and we don't know what's going on. No, we'll get to where this group has a seat at the table where we do know what's going on, and we are able to be involved in the decision process. We are a place to share where we get feedback, but it needs to be big, it needs to be official, it needs to be financial. So that's all stuff that's coming. Anyway guys, I suppose that's all I can tell you for that one there. There's a bit into it. I think the sharing that, you know, your wonderful little native animals are about to be gone if the police get their way, which is, I'm sure they've not thought about, but I don't think that they've thought about much of it actually. So I'd like this message to get through to the people who really make the decisions, to go with, oh, wait a minute, you know, that could end up with mud on us. That mightn't be that good. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked the video. Leave all your comments and bits and pieces below. I will do the normal thing on these ones. I'll acknowledge on that sort of stuff. If you do, I'll put on the Louise Kingston email for the moment. If you do want to pass on or be involved with that sort of stuff, then we'll put it on this email, put on this video for sure, in the comments for sure. Hopefully I'm in touch very shortly with a official thing of what's actually started, so you can work out how to become part of that. Thanks for checking in, guys. Catch you next time.